And it's funny because when we argue, I have to learn how to let go of the fight and just let you walk away and be okay, and just allow myself to process through that anger. So the way that we get through our marriage is just the healing a lot of ourselves, because that's where we have that conflict.
Right. And I think a lot of times too with the conflict that we have is just you have your perspective on things and I have my perspective on things, and there are some times where we're just like, we're not going to agree on this. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 317 Wellness Podcast. I'm Jody.
And my name is Tim.
And today we're going to be talking about a pretty juicy subject, marriage.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, things that we've learned along the way, things that we're still working on. So let's go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, so let's take it back from the beginning where we first met. Yeah. I know you had a daughter.
Yes.
The very first beginning of our relationship. I
had a 4-year-old. Yep.
So I guess what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
Well, yeah. I mean, I had been focused on just raising her. Like, I really hadn't dated very much. It really wasn't something that, I really thought about doing. I mean, I don't know. It was just more about raising her and I. And then I met you and I liked you and you were cute and your values and everything just, meshed with mine. And so, I mean, it was a little nerve-wracking, bringing someone into the mix because we had our routine and all of that. And she, she didn't have a dad in her life. So bringing a man into the picture was just a whole new thing. So, I mean, I think it was one of the big things was that where you first saw her was at church. Yeah. So like knowing that you had the same faith and the same like moral values it made me way more comfortable to bring, you around her. So
you wouldn't feel comfortable if it was like someone that had similar,
I mean, because I knew that, the way I was raising her, in the faith and believing in Jesus and, praying and all the things that we do, like that needed to still be something that the person I brought into our lives was going to value as well. Yeah. And so knowing that you were a praying man and, a believer was, that made me feel way more comfortable than I would have. So I wouldn't have brought anyone else around her. Yeah. I'll just say that.
And I think for me, like when you think about someone having, you're dating someone that has a kid, like I think a lot of people would be overwhelmed, but for some reason I did not feel overwhelmed. Like I knew that I was okay with dating someone that had a kid. So my brother has 3 daughters and I grew up with them and not grew up with them, but I was there with them during their childhood, and it was really easy for me. Like it wasn't hard to interact with them. It wasn't very difficult for me to be around that. Like I was around that a lot. And I remember that when we first talked and you told me that, I'm just like, okay, that's nothing that I can't handle. Yeah. So for me, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't afraid of it. I just knew that I liked you and I loved to meet her, So it took a little while for us to meet her, but so. Yeah,
and I think I sensed that from you. I don't think it really ever felt like a big thing until maybe we were into it and I was like, oh yeah, like this, you're in a relationship with someone that has a daughter, so you're not just dating me, you have to fit in with her as well. And so I think that really it just shaped the trajectory a little bit of our relationship, because having a child in the mix too was harder for us to date. So that really changed. You think about a dating relationship where you get to spend all the time together. It's very easy, but for us, I always had to find a babysitter and the time was a little bit more limited. So how did you feel about our dating relationship?
Well, I mean, it was definitely harder. Like I said, it wasn't a big deal to me, but I realized that my energy does expend a lot more when I was with both you guys, because I remember that before, I had a lot of energy, didn't have much going on other than just I was single. I was just doing the bachelor life and when we got together, I realized how much more energy being together it takes, or I guess it drains out of you having another two people.
Yeah.
So I was like exhausted by the end of the night. It just was weird to realize that, because kids do take energy, and it takes a lot of hard work and responsibility to make sure you're there with them throughout the whole day.
Well, attention split, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
that's what I
realized
mean.
that, yeah,
I think that's
too.
what I mean.
Yeah, like my attention was I'm trying to give you attention and
Yes.
grow our relationship,
Yeah.
and then Lydia's wanting attention too. So it was kind of always this kind
Yeah,
of back
yeah.
and forth, and the same. So we didn't really get that a lot of one-on-one attention
exactly.
Between the two of us.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So like, it was definitely challenging, like energy wise for me.
Right.
So, but like overall, it was fun. Like I enjoyed us going to the park, Eagle Creek Park, when we first started dating together. So I was pretty much dating both of you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I think that's where we've seen now later in our relationship how it's impacted us.
Yeah.
Because we never really got to be one-on-one.
Right.
And now it's harder now because we have Buddy.
Yeah.
So we jumped
Yeah, so we just went straight into having another one too.
Yep. How long was that? It was just like...
We were married for 3 months before, we decided to expand our family again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm older, so we didn't want to be like too much older before we had another child. So, so then we got married. We had 3 months married, and then I was pregnant with Eli, and so we've just always had little kids around in our relationship.
And I think that has been the biggest challenge for us, especially these last couple years. 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. Going through the newborn and infant and now toddler, terrible twos. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were realizing right now that we want to spend more time together because we're so separate right now with the kids, and now it's just even more energy being expended.
Right.
To the point where we don't really have much time for each other at the end of the night. Like we're exhausted by the time nighttime comes, and we sometimes don't really want to do anything.
Right.
Right. What do you think about?
Yeah. That? I mean, we are. I mean, we talk about it, and I think that's really good that we both realize that there is this separation that has happened since having Eli. Because I'm taking care of the kids and you're working more, and we're both, we have our own jobs. We're working together for the good of our family, for the overall, but we're separate during the day. And then, like you said, by the time the kids go to bed, we're just tired at the end of the night. Yeah. So we just don't have as much energy to give to each other at the end of the night. So yeah, I think that's, it's good for us to talk about it and be aware of it. I think a lot of relationships, maybe a lot of people don't talk about it or aren't aware of the separation that occurs, and that gap can get bigger and bigger and bigger if you're not aware of it. So we're trying now to figure out how to try to close that gap as Eli gets older, and what are the things that we kind of need to do to bring us back together. Yeah,
and I think that's why we normally spend that last hour of the night talking, communicating, and sometimes we don't, but most of the time we do. And I think that's very important to have at least an hour and a half at the end of the night to be able to talk to your wife and just communicate, talk over your day, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's super important. We try to do it at the dinner table, but that's kind of hard to do it, or, talk on the phone a little bit or text during the day, but you can't really have, a good conversation. So at the end of the night, but some nights, we enjoy a documentary, or we do something like that to kind of have fun together, because that's also important. But I think if you're doing that every single night, then you're missing out on the depth that you should be having with your spouse.
And I really do enjoy those times because that's when we get to talk.
Yeah.
But another struggle that we faced was just not understanding what we do for each other, like not understanding our love language.
Right.
And for those who don't know what your love language is, it's just what fulfills you, what fulfills your partner. And then there's a book called The 5 Love Languages, and those 5 love languages are, let me see, there's acts of service, quality time, receiving gifts, words of affirmation, and physical touch. So for you and I, for the longest time, we had no idea what our love language was. I
still don't know if I'm sure. Mine.
You don't know what yours is.
I'm complicated.
But it was funny because you and I were fulfilling each other, our own
Right.
love language.
Yeah. And that's typically what people do is
Yeah.
the way they show love. Like they're constantly showing love. So I think for me, acts of service is really one, right? So I would do acts of service for you, but that's not how you feel loved.
Yeah.
So I'm not feeling your love language, even though I feel like that's what I am doing. So it's very, very interesting.
So your love language is acts of service. Do you know?
In gift giving.
In gift giving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and that's like the opposite of yours, because your quality time, right?
Quality
physical
time.
Touch.
Physical touch. I have like 3.
Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
Yeah.
I got all of them. No, just 3 of them. So
all the 3 that I am not.
Yeah.
So we're like complete opposites in those.
But I think the biggest one is quality time and physical touch. The words affirmation might be the last one, but those are 3 main ones. And for the longest time, what was I doing? What was I doing for you? I forget. Like, I know you were doing your acts of service towards.
Well, sometimes you like.
Or you were giving me gifts.
Oh yes. The gift
like,
giving.
oh
that was. We're still working on it. Because I love to give gifts, and he hates to receive gifts. Yeah. He doesn't like it.
I hate surprises.
So it's very frustrating. Because like, I want to love you through this gift, and you're like, nah, and I'm just like, no.
Remember?
It's very
defeating.
defeating.
How this past Christmas you're so mad at me because I just told you let me pick my gifts out and then you can.
It's the worst. It really is the worst for me. It just
you just gave me a gift card.
I want to get you things that I know that you'll enjoy, and then you're like, why you get me this?
Yeah.
Or you tell me. The worst is that you tell me to just tell you what I want.
Oh, yeah.
And that, you need to figure out what I want, sir. That is my love language.
I'm still learning, okay?
You're still learning. I know. We're still working on it, but it's very important to understand what fills your spouse's love tank.
And that's a good example of what, we can elaborate more on that, just because, like, really stepping out of our own selves as men, as husbands, we got to really think outside the box. Like, we can't just... Like we struggle with this. Men struggle with this because we're not willing to like think outside the box. Right. So we just see things like gray or black. But women, they're more complicated. You guys want more details, or you want us to think about you, right? So like you want us to like I know you want me to stop at a store and grab you some wine or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
On the way home from work.
Right.
So we really gotta.
I hinted at it multiple times.
Yes, you did. You did. I know that.
It didn't happen, guys.
I'm still working on it, but I have done things that have that fulfilled your love language. So, like I was saying, it's just that as men, we struggle with fulfilling our wife's needs because you guys are more complicated. Is what it comes down to. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys are.
Sure. Well, and I think too, it takes effort. Yes. And I think that's one thing that we forget about, because we just talked about, like, we're raising the kids, we're both working jobs, we're taking care of the house, we've got the business stuff, our goals and our dreams that we want to work on, so we've got all this energy expenditure. So at the end of the night, a lot of times, we want to just scroll or we want to just watch something, but marriage takes a lot of effort. And I think people really need to understand, like, how much you need to step outside of yourself and how much energy that takes to be intentional and to be thoughtful for your spouse. And we do not get that right a lot because we're
independent.
Right. We're very independent. So we want to do our own thing.
We want to do our own thing. Like, we don't need each other to really fulfill each other. Right. But because we've made a commitment and we're married, we have to fulfill each other.
Right.
And I think that's one struggle that we face, is that we're both independent.
Oh, yeah.
We can go throughout the day without really...
needing each other.
Yeah, needing each other. So, yeah. So, having that conversation, or just being intentional with wanting to spend time with each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's true. It's like you have your things that you want to do for the day. I have my things that I want to do, need to do. We have our own schedules, and sometimes there are days where it's just like, all right, love you, good night, because we're just so independent with that. So,
and I think that's why we read those books together. We've read the 5 love languages. We're reading, which one is
4 Seasons of Marriage.
4 Seasons of Marriage.
Same author, yeah.
what was that one part of the book, the Four Seasons of Marriage, where it talks about how like the first 5 years of marriage is just really getting to know each other?
Oh, that was a devotional, I think, that we listened to.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but yeah.
But what was it about?
They were just saying like the first 5 years are learning to live with each other.
Oh yeah.
The second 5 years were becoming friends,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the third, so getting into your 15th year from 10 to 15 was more of like really enjoying the marriage, like starting to enjoy the marriage, and that was really powerful.
Spot on, really,
Right.
because
I think so, yeah.
we're going into 3.5 years of marriage, 4 years together, right? 4 years
Almost
together.
5 in December.
Almost 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wow,
Mm-hmm.
it's going fast. It's going fast. So
Yeah.
we're actually in that stage because we're learning all these things as we're going, but we're aware of the struggles, aware of the challenges because we're spending that time on our own. But that's helpful because we're trying to grow through that through these first 5 years, because it definitely is a growing phase. It definitely is learning each other's needs and all these things. So that's pretty accurate, I think.
I think so too. And I think the big part of it is just communication the whole entire way.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm learning to speak up more, which you may not like, but I like it. It's just something that I didn't really learn when I was younger, to really express myself and my feelings. And I think being able to talk about things is helping us really, really grow as we're going through these years. So communication is number one.
Yeah.
Always.
So let's talk about how we handle arguments.
Yeah.
Like, I know that for me, this is something that I've been really trying to get better at, because for me, I'm a yeller. I get angry, lose my patience, and I just start yelling, and then you're the opposite of me.
I'm the avoider. Yep. I like to go away and like process before I have a argument or conversation.
I don't like that, because I get frustrated because I want to finish the conversation now.
Yeah.
Or I want to get through this now, and you're just like, all right.
Yeah, I remember. I remember early on in our relationship, we had an argument and we were sitting at the kitchen table, and I looked at you and I said, I'm going to go into the bathroom and I need to sit in there by myself and process my feelings. And I could tell he was so angry because he didn't want there to be any pause in the conflict, in the argument. And I left, and and I just had to. I had to I didn't want to speak out of my raw emotion. I wanted to understand what I was feeling and come back to it. But you were there just like angry because you wanted to keep going with it.
And I think the cool thing is that God put us together because we're the opposite. We're very similar, but very opposite. You are someone that is very patient, very calm. You can walk away from an argument to go think, and I'm the opposite. I get angry, I get furious, I want to just start fixing it now. And I think that's how it normally is. We attract opposites, but yeah.
And was to learn from each other, right? So so as we've kind of grown in our arguments, I think, I guess I've started to just be in it and process in it, so that you're not feeling, you're not getting angry because I'm leaving the situation. And I see more patience in you. Or be able to kind of calm down a little bit more so that we can handle things. So I think, again, it's just these first 5 years, it's growing and learning and figuring each other out and how to do this.
So I'm on a whole journey about really self-healing. And a lot of the things that we go through, like a lot of arguments, a lot of the things that trigger us is from things that we were like as a child, or things that we experienced as a kid. And for me, the anger and the loss of control was me seeing things in Guatemala that I shouldn't have seen. And I think that's why I've had to learn how to process through my trauma as a kid. And so that way I could heal our relationship now, right? So I think healing yourself and understanding what triggers you, why does it trigger you, why are you getting upset about this, or do you remember things that have happened in the past that are affecting your relationships now, right? What do you think about that? Like,
I mean, I think we see relationships role modeled for us for good or for bad. And so we then act like that. I mean, I just listened to a podcast where they're saying that like the the first 7 years of a child's life is just basically they're mimicking what they're seeing, right? They're just, it's kind of like all subliminal message, whatever. They're just doing whatever they see.
And that's what I was, go for it. Sorry.
And then after that, then they can apply logic. Then we start to take it in and we start to develop our own thoughts about it. But in those first years, what we see is it is creating how we think about relationships. I remember you were like, well, this is how we're going to have arguing. We're going to argue a lot. This is how it is. And then growing up for me, there was no arguing.
It wasn't for my parents, but my biological dad and biological mom, most of my biological dad was yelling, screaming, lost his temper so many times, and that's exactly how I am now.
And that's the first 5 years of your life.
The first 5 years is that experience so much chaos as a kid,
and those are the crucial developmental years.
And I remember when I was meditating one time, I was trying to figure out why do I get so angry? People don't think I'm angry, but there's things that trigger me that I get angry about, and most of it has to do with loss of control. So that's when I was meditating. That's where I realized that loss of control was what I was experiencing as a little kid, not being able to protect my mom from getting beat or whatever, and I didn't know how to process that. So all it was is just build up anger inside of me that I never learned how to process that. So when I meditate, I brought myself back to that moment and really just talk to my younger self and be like, hey, you can't control this. It's not your fault. You just have to learn to let it go. And it's funny because when we argue, I have to learn how to let go of the fight and just let you walk away and be okay and just allow myself to process the anger. So the way that we get through our marriage is just the healing a lot of ourselves, because that's where we have that conflict.
Right. And I think a lot of times too with the conflict that we have is just you have your perspective on things and I have my perspective on things, and there are some times where we're just like, we're not going to agree on this, and we just have to be okay. We have to learn how to work through it. We have to learn how to communicate. Well, we're just not going to see eye to eye on this particular, but trying to get to understand where each other is coming from. And sometimes
understanding each other.
Yeah, it's understanding where you're coming from based on your previous experience, and understanding where I'm coming from based on my previous experience. And then maybe one day we'll see eye to eye on something, but we're not the same person. We're not, we didn't marry each other because we are exactly the same person. So we're going to have those times where we're not going to agree.
So as a man, you have to heal yourself. You have to go through all the pain and the suffering that you've endured, because you're going to carry that in your marriage. And if you don't fix it, your marriage is going to hurt.
Yeah. And I think that, it's similar for women too. If we have, the baggage that we bring into the relationship, we have to understand how that's impacting us now. I mean, it's not that necessarily your spouse is causing you to feel some way or what they did. It could be that something they've said is triggering a hurt from the past, and it has nothing to do with them. Absolutely nothing. And that's why I do think sometimes walking away and processing, why do I feel this way? Is it really my spouse or is this something else, is really important, so that you can come back together and be like, okay, this is from a hurt. This isn't from you. This is from a past hurt. Yeah. And so I love you. I just need to work through this and heal myself. So. And
when we have expectations for the other person, that's where things start to hurt.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't want to have expectations, because we're never going to meet our own expectations. We're never going to meet. You're never going to meet my expectations. I'm never going to meet yours. Right.
Right. Yeah. So it's hard when we've got perfectionist tendencies. We both kind of do, and so. A lot of times I'm like, this is how this needs to be, rainbows and sunshine, and everything's great, and you're just like, it's not gonna be rainbows and sunshine, but so lower those expectations down a little bit, or at least talk about. It's really good to talk about, just like we do with our kids. Like I try to set expectations for your spouse too, so you're on the same page and don't have the conflict.
So I think the first thing that you want to do with processing through this is just becoming aware, or working through this is becoming aware of each other and what triggers us. Right. Because that's how you start to have a healthier marriage, right? I think. So how do you think we are now compared to when we first started dating or first started together?
I think I know my tone isn't good. My tone will like trigger you. So I'm try to be a little bit more aware of that and try to bring it down. Now I'm often sassy. I don't know where our children get it. But it's just, I know I need to speak clearer and calmer. Like I've learned that. And so I think we can kind of get through some conflict a little bit better if I remove that sassy type of emotion. It doesn't happen 100% of the time. I am aware of this, so don't get on me. But but I try to remove it some of the time so that we can be clear. So I think our conflict is getting a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like,
so I know what triggers me is, I don't know. I think I'm still trying to like. I think I'm trying to let go of the control. I think that's what it is. Because when I'm wanting to finish the conversation and you're not wanting to go and do the same thing, then I have to just process through that and just try to like let it go. I think. I don't know. I don't know if I've yet mastered that part yet, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're still very much working on it and learning how to handle conflict the best way.
Other than just separating us and praying about it and just asking God for His help, because it is hard. It is hard to come back without God convicting me. It's hard to it's hard to continue being in the marriage with each other when we're both still angry
and stubborn. We're angry, we're stubborn, we're individuals. So like we just want to kind of go our separate ways. So prayer does bring us back together.
And it really heals us because it allows God to remind us that you guys were together, we're a team, we made a commitment, we have to work through all this mess, we can't avoid it, we have to bring each other together. And God does that. God brings us together. All right, so let's talk about partnering up together. How have you seen that in a relationship? Do you think that we're doing well with that?
I think for the most part we are. I mean, we're a little traditional, but we're a little modern kind of at the same time. So how we view like the traditional roles of male and female, mother and father, like we're still in that mindset, but we also are, you cook and do dishes and I work and sometimes do yard work and things like that. So we help each other out. We have our traditional roles and we have our our household expectations for each other, but we jump in, I think, whenever we need to and make sure it gets done.
And for me, it's difficult for me to do the mom role or the traditional role because it's just I've not experienced how that looks kind of, you know what I mean? So I think that spending that quality time with my kids is kind of challenging for me. So I have to really remove myself from what I'm doing and be intentional of going and hanging out with my kids, right? And I think that's one of the big challenges for me is like you do a lot of the kid stuff, but I know that's not just should be not on you. It should be I should be stepping in and being like, hey, how can I partner up with you, right? Instead of how can I help you? Because it's not right. Explain that a little bit.
So the help word for me is trigger, because I guess we'll just use the word trigger for everything. But it is because as a helper, it makes it feel like it's still all my responsibility. So when you say, I'm here to help you, I kind of want to punch you a little bit because I'm like, that just makes me the responsible one for everything. Whereas when you say, how can I partner up with you? It's being, I guess, you understanding or knowing what needs to be done and then just intentionally doing that is really, I think, what a lot of us moms would like to see in our partner is that you are aware of the needs in the moment and you just take something and run with it instead of me having to stop and go, okay, well, this lunch needs packed, the diaper needs changed, this needs done, this, And
I think that's something I struggle with because since you handle all that responsibility, I come in and I have no idea where you're at.
Right.
So that's why I ask you, hey, where can I help you with?
Mm-hmm.
But I think from what you're saying is that I need to go in there,
If you
become
just,
aware
yeah.
of what's going on, and just take action on what needs to get
Yep.
done. And I think I've started doing that more often. I think maybe I think I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. But like I said, it is hard for men to do that because we're not. That's not the role that we're known to do.
And I think for us women, it's just there's like a constant just list just running, right, of like what needs to be done in the house, what needs to be done with the kids, what needs to be done at my job, what needs to be done, with all the different things, what needs to be done with you, what groceries did I forget at the grocery store that now need to be gotten. Like there's just this constant list of needs for the whole entire house. As I guess the manager, I don't know what we would be in like the business world, but there's always that list of the needs. And so yeah, that's why you're like, well, how can I help you? And I'm like, well, let me stop and go through my list of the things, in my head and see what you can do. But yeah, if talking about true partnership, you would know or see what needs to be done and then just do what needs to be done. So I think that's one of the things that I would say a lot of us women would enjoy in our spouse is to just take the initiative to do a thing and take it off of our plate and take that off my mental list.
And I think for us men, we're still trying to figure out, because you guys can handle it yourselves, meaning that you don't need us. Yeah, you really don't need me, if to be honest, because you can handle it. You can handle it all. You moms are, strong-willed, motivated, and just get things done. But as your partner, I have to get in there and do the same thing. I have to let go of my selfishness and just jump in because it is a partnership, and it is something that I have to continue becoming aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of moms do experience burnout, because they're just constantly doing all those things and have that list going on. And then on top of it, now we're trying to like take care of their physical appearance and their health and things like that. And so, if the husband would jump in and take some of the stuff off the plate without asking what needs to be done, because it's now we're handing out, we're having to hand out responsibilities, which takes more energy for us to have to do that than you just, coming in and being like, all right, I changed his diaper, changed his clothes, his bag's packed, he's ready to go. And then I'd be like, okay, I get another extra couple minutes to drink my coffee in the morning or whatever. I think that's huge. Partnering together is huge.
But do you think that I've been?
You have been. You've been stepping up, or you've been around like in the mornings too, because your work schedule's changed a little bit, so you can help out in the mornings, and then with dinner and things like that, you do cook dinner and all of that. So
and I know that I'm capable of running it myself too. Honestly, I can do it. I've done it.
You have done it. I've been gone, and
you've been gone.
The kids didn't die, and they were fed, and was the house clean? That's another story, but whatever. Yeah. So just trying to make sure I guess that's where we do kind of would like to set some expectations for each other. Is that how are we going to partner together? So you can't be completely without expectations, but you have to talk about it. You can't have unspoken expectations and think everything is going to go well in the marriage. That's how I feel. But.
Yeah, I think that we both had a conversation about like, okay, what do we expect from each other? Like the simple things to get done. Right. Like you want me to get the yard stuff done, that's fine. And you do the laundry. I hate doing laundry anyways. So... that's all you
communicating with each other, making sure that you do set mutual expectations. Like I said, communication is just super important, and spending time together, getting that quality time in together. We didn't even really talk about date nights and things like that, which we're also working on, but making sure that you get to spend that time together, away from the kids, away from work, just getting to know each other and dating each other still is really important. We just hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If you want any resources, check out our website at 317wellness.com. We've got some free resources there for you. Or if you are feeling stuck kind of on your health journey and need a little nudge, Tim has one-on-one consultations as well as coaching, and so do I. So check it out on our website.
We'll see you later.